it's now time to learn the most powerful way that you can use your ozone therapy at home. And that's gonna be rectal insufflation. Doing a rectal insufflation ozone therapy is almost identical to doing autohemotherapy. And autohemotherapy is when they take all your blood out, so they have to poke you with the needle. You have to go to a clinic to do this, by the way. They poke you with the needle, they suck your blood out, they ozonate it, and they put it back in. Okay, so it's ozonating the blood. It usually costs anywhere from $500 to $1,500 to do this therapy. With rectal insufflation, you can bypass the needles, put the $1,000 in your pocket, right? And you could, so even if you did a few autohemotherapies, you could afford your own machine, and you'd have it forever with a lifetime warranty. But anyways, the rectal insufflation is almost identical to the autohemotherapy in that you get they say it's 98% as effective. Because when you put ozone gas in your rectum and it slowly starts to basically release into the rectum, ozone turns into ozonide. So what happens is ozone doesn't just go in the body and do like what ozone does. It reacts with lipids and amino acids to create ozonides. And these ozonides cannot oxidize you, and they're extremely powerful, and they can saturate you over time if you do the therapy that I'm going to talk about today, as far as the term of the therapy or the protocol, using the therapy in a protocol to where you would do the insufflation at a certain amount and a certain time frame, and we're going to go over that later. But the rectal insufflation is extremely powerful. We're going to jump right into how to get this administered, and if you guys have any questions or comments, you can leave those below and get those answered. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to decide on our strength. When you're doing rectal insufflation, the strength of your ozone is extremely important. There's a clinic down in South America that has done more ozone than any clinic in the world. And they have kind of set the standard for the strength and the dosage. So when I say strength, that's going to be how strong the ozone is. I always call it gamma. So when you look at your chart, these numbers are that gamma. So for example, variable setting 1, because you have 3 settings on your machine, right? If you watched your first videos, you were educated on that. And then the flow rate is going to determine the gamma and the strength. And you can see that chart right here. This ozone clinic that has kind of set the standard in the ozone community has said that starting at 20 gamma at 200 milliliters, don't worry about all that, what that means right now. I'm going to explain it and show it all. But that is the ideal amount and strength that you want to start with. Now, we're going to go into some advanced ways to do rectal insufflation, but in this first video, I'm just going to show you the basic, okay? That's going to be extremely safe. And the reason why that you want to do it at this strength and not a higher strength is not because the ozone can harm you per se, is that the toxins in your body can harm you. It can retoxify you. It can create Herxheimer's reaction. And if your channels of elimination aren't open, if you're super toxic, even if your channels of elimination are open, there is a chance that you could have this reaction happen. I've personally never had it happen to me, but I'm a pretty healthy guy. I stay active, I eat well, and I actually do a little bit stronger than what I'm going to show you today. But if you're just getting started, you have to start with this dosage, okay? You sign the waiver. I can't be responsible if you hurt yourself, if you have this reaction, okay? So that's why I'm going to show you how to do it the gentle and lightest way possible. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to turn on our oxygen tank. Just like so. We're going to set our regulator to 1/8. So that's going to be 1 click, 2 click, 3 click at 1/8. Okay? Now what we're going to do is we're going to turn on our ozone machine. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to make sure our variable setting is set to 1, because we're going to want a strength of 20 gamma. Now, I'm going to turn my machine off right now because it's blowing ozone in my face. And even though it's not gonna harm me to breathe in a little ozone, you see a lot of people use constructs, destructs, and all these things. Ozone can't hurt your lungs unless you breathe an absorbent amount. And the amount that you'd have to breathe to hurt your lungs is damn near impossible. It's like drinking so much water that you could drown. It's like that. So be rest assured, don't worry about it. But I don't wanna smell it right now, so I'll just turn my machine off. We turn the oxygen tank on. We set it to 1/8. We set our variable setting to 1. If we look at our chart, that's gonna be 20 gamma, okay? Now, we're gonna take our ozone insufflation bag. And obviously this can go up to 750 milliliters. We're just wanting to do 200 milliliters, right? And the way that you're gonna install this is, look, a lure lock. So just like the first video, now you're seeing why we create these lure lock fittings. It makes it so easy. So you're gonna take your ozone bag, make sure your clip's on it as well, right? Make sure it's unclipped. Gotta make sure it's unclipped. And then you're gonna install that counterclockwise. Now I'm gonna turn my machine on. So right now what's happening is this bag is getting filled with ozone gas. And I went ahead and filled one up for you guys. And I'm gonna show you, I filled it up actually more than 200 mils, but I'm gonna show you what 200 mils look like. And I clipped it when I got done with it. And I'm gonna show you how to do all that, so don't worry. I'm just gonna bleed this bag out. Okay? So as you can see, I still got a little bit more than 200 mils in there. This is what 200 mils would look like filled up. Let me get it from the side there. Get it from the top. Okay, when I got trained how to do ozone, I did not get trained this way. I was trained very sloppy. So I wanted to make sure when I trained you guys, that I was very thorough and trained you right. That 200 mils is filled up. Now, there's a little mark here. You can pinch that bag and sit here and hold it and wait. But you don't have to do that, guys. Just turn on your machine, get your bag installed. As you can see, since I've been talking, it's almost filled up 200 mils. So it might almost be there already. Not quite 200 mils. Well, it's gonna keep letting that going. My point is it takes a few minutes, but only a few minutes. This is when I use that time, that few minutes, to go get a towel, to lay it out on my bed. I love having my ozone machine near my bed on my nightstand, because when I do the insufflation, I just lay on my bed, I take a towel, lay it down, and then I go and get some lube. So I get ozonated olive oil is what I get. All right, so one step at a time. So this is what your bag looks like filled. Let me just bleed this out so it's just 200 mils. So it almost looks empty right here, right? Like there's nothing in it. But as I roll this up, like a tube of toothpaste, which is exactly how I suggest you do it, you can see there's still 200 milliliters of gas in there. So at 20 gamma, 200 mils, this is your starting dose. This is literally like one ozone fart. This is extremely easy to do. You know, one thing I love about rectal insufflation is it only takes about 3 minutes to do. 3 to 6 minutes total to do. It's amazing. The auto hemotherapy takes like an hour and a half out of your day. And again, you get poked with a needle and it's extremely expensive. So what we're gonna do next, now that we've got our bag filled, and again, once I pulled that bag, so now this is filled up, you can see that the machine's been running the whole time. Before I pull this off, what I like to do is make sure my clip's on. And as soon, the first thing I do, I don't turn the machine off, I don't turn anything off. The first thing I do is I have one hand on my clip and one hand that's gonna take off my bag on my lure lock. I'm gonna rotate that off, like so, it's off, I clip it. Now, what's that doing? That's keeping the gas in the bag. Now, how do we turn the machine off, guys? Remember, you turn the machine off first, then you turn your regulator off, then you turn your oxygen off. You know, and So many times I've gotten calls, I left my oxygen tank on. I gotta get it refilled. Well, luckily it's only about 20 bucks to refill, but no big deal. So just want to remind you guys of that. So now that we've got this bag filled up, we've got our 200 mils the way we want it. What's our next step? Our next step is install our catheter. And if you got the Ozone accessories with that package, then you're going to receive a few bags and a few catheters. And if you need more, you can reach out to us. We buy these in bulk and we can sell these to you guys wholesale price. You can also get them on Amazon and other places. You can buy them in bulk. Say we were out of stock. However, they're not going to be exactly the same. It's not going to be the same material. I've bought the ones on Amazon from all the different brands, and none of them are the ones that are like this. And this is a special type of catheter, and I'll get the details and get that written below. It's kind of going blank on it at the moment, but it's a special type of silicone and extremely ozone resistant. Now, one thing to note too, that the American Ozone Society says to only use these bags 5 times and to only use these catheters 5 times. So sometimes I'll take a marker and I'll mark it right here. Now, a lot of people are indifferent about that. You'll talk to people online, they'll say, oh, we use these bags 10 times and we use this catheter 10 times. Here's what I'm gonna tell you. When you start to insert this into your rectum, after you've used it a few times, you're gonna notice that this plastic edging, because there's two little holes there and here, starts to get kind of hard, and it almost can kind of irritate your rectum a little bit. Anytime that happens, I typically say, all right, it's done. Sometimes that's been more than 5 times, sometimes that's been right at 5 times. So, you know, a lot of this information we just don't know because they haven't allowed us to study ozone for the human body. It's illegal to do, right? It's one of those things that there's no funding to do it. So what we say in the industry is better to be safe than to be sorry, per se. So here we go. So naturally, lure lock, guess what? Lure lock, this is the female end, or this is the female end actually. This is the male end. And this goes in like so, and just rotates on, just like you would here. Now, you're good to go, guys. You're fully installed. So what you want to do now is you can either insert this guy standing up, laying down, you can squat down on, I mean, whatever you want to do. You know, it's the world's your oyster. The way I prefer to do it is I lay down, okay, on my back, or sometimes on my side. I put a little bit of lube on my finger and dap the rectum. I do a tiny bit here, and I kind of like work it. Now, as far as how deep to go, there's 2 schools of thought on this, and I'm going to share both of them with you so that you guys can explore it and try it and see what you like better. The first school of thought is go about 4 inches in. That's it, right there. And you would slowly insert that into your rectum, like so. Go super slow. Don't go fast. This is super quick and easy to do. Don't be in a hurry. And that's it. Once you're here, you can then begin administering the ozone. And I'm going to show that after I show the second way to insert it. The second way to insert it is to not stop here. Is just to go all the way in. And they say when you go all the way in, up to the very edge, about right there. Excuse my guitar nails. Okay, I play guitar. I don't know. I cut all my nails but that one. They say when you go this far into the rectum that you go near the perneural vein. Okay, and you go up into the channel, and they say it dumps to the liver quicker. I don't know if that's true or not. I've done both, guys. I get the same results from both. You know, it's like, I noticed that when I go deeper in, I can hold the gas better. Obviously, it's farther up my rectum, right? Versus when I'm here. So I'm gonna let you guys decide on what you like and what you prefer. You know, start maybe with this for a few weeks when you're doing therapy, and then if you want to try going all the way in, you can. The other thing is to think about is like, when you're doing your therapy, are you doing your therapy in the morning after you already taken a dump and used the restroom? Are you doing the therapy in the middle of the day where you might have feces impacting your colon? That's going to determine how far you go in, right? And if sometimes when you insert, if you notice like, oh, like you hit something, maybe you hit a piece of fecal matter or whatnot, it's not the end of the world. You can adjust it a little bit, going a little bit farther in, a little bit farther out. Sometimes you will notice when you do get done with the therapy that you'll have fecal matter, a little bit of fecal matter in here. That just means the colon wasn't completely clean. A lot of schools of thought are to do an enema before you do this, but that's just not practical. Okay, I don't expect you guys to do that anyways. So what we're gonna do is you're gonna insert, we're just gonna say 4 inches here. Then we're gonna roll up our enema bag, just like a tube of toothpaste. Okay, and I like to do it just like this. So I like to roll it up, and then I kind of like hold it like so, just like this with my hand. I insert the catheter. I like to run my white clip all the way to this edge for obvious reasons. Okay, I like to run that all the way, sorry to get that out of the frame, to the edge for obvious reasons, because obviously this is going in my butt, right? So that's inside, and then once it's inserted, we'll just say it's inserted, I hold this hand like this, kind of a little bit of pressure on the bag, just making sure it's full, and then I unclip, right, like so. Now, you can spend as much time as you want slowly pushing the bag. What I have found after doing this hundreds of times over the years is breath work. Now's the time to do some breath work, and it's a great time. So what I like to do is exhale, and as I exhale, I notice the gas almost starts to come out with a little bit of pressure, and then I squeeze like I'm holding a fart on my inhale, or even if I feel like the air is wanting to come out, I feel like I'm, I have a little bit of gas, like a ozone fart, I'll hold no matter what, whether I'm inhaling or exhaling. But when you exhale, your colon relaxes, your rectum relaxes, and the gas can travel. It seems to be like it can travel inside you. So as I exhale, squeeze, hold, breathe in. I'm still putting pressure here when I breathe in, but I'm not really noticing that the gas is wanting to draw into my body. I actually almost sometimes will get a back pressure. So as I breathe in, I just kind of squeeze and hold it, and then as I breathe out, I'll then try to squeeze it up with a little bit more pressure. And it literally, like, just me doing that for 2 seconds, the gas is gone. It's all out of here. It literally takes like 5 minutes to do, if that. And if you use that breathing technique, which no one's ever talked about or showed me or taught me, I just figured that out on my own, and I wanted to gift you guys with that knowledge. You can literally, that's why I say 3 minutes. It takes nothing. Now, all you have to do after that gas has been inserted in you is hold it for 30 seconds. Some people say 30 minutes, some people say 15 minutes. No, ozone reacts almost instantly in the body. And as you start going to higher strengths and higher amounts, when you're ready, you'll start to notice that almost instantly you feel your body being flooded with ozonides. You'll start to notice kind of the brain kind of clicks on. You'll notice your inhale and exhale becomes super, like you've been doing an hour meditation breath work with deep diaphragmatic breaths. You just feel like you can just keep breathing in all this oxygen. And if it's your first time doing it, you're gonna notice that. Maybe you will, maybe you won't. Typically you will, but again, as you start to go to the higher dosages, you can. And I'm not gonna talk about higher dosages in this video because this is a just getting started video. In the advanced trainings for rectal insufflation, I'm gonna go into that. And I'm even going to talk about it on a few podcasts and information on the website. But again, guys, you just hold it for 30 seconds. You pull the tube out, okay? You then take the fitting off. And what I like to do with this is I like to put this in either ozone water that I make with my ozone machine, to clean it. Sometimes I'll rinse it in the sink a little bit, then I'll put it in the ozone water, or I'll just put it in some hydrogen peroxide and store it in there. I basically took a glass mason jar, I drilled a little hole in the lid, and I can just slide this right down in there, and it just stays in there. And then when I'm ready to use it the next time, I just pull it out, and I'm good to go for my next therapy. Again, 5 times. That's the school of thought. There's 2 schools of thought actually, 5 times to 10 times, but safe side is gonna be 5 times use on the bags, 5 times use on the catheters. And now I wanna talk a little bit about a protocol that you can do. So if you've never done ozone before and you're looking to maybe treat a certain issue, underlying issue you have going on, I highly recommend you do a 3-week protocol, which is 3 weeks every day, twice a day. And the way it works is you start with that dosage that I just mentioned, 200 milliliters at 20 gamma. Now, that next week, you can up that. You can up that to 400 mils at 20 gamma. And then that following week, if you wanted to start to bump up the gamma to 40, you could do that, so twice the strength, to 200 mils. If you go higher in strength and concentration of ozone, usually start with just 200 mils and then work your way up to 400 mils. And I've even had people with cancer, people with serious illness, go up to 90 gamma at 400 mils. But these were people that had been using the ozone for 3 or 4 months. So it was like their 3rd or 4th cycle of 3 weeks, 1 week off. Because that's the cycle, that's the hardcore protocol. You do 3 weeks on, 1 week off, and you do that twice a day. Now, if you're just wanting general maintenance and you're just wanting general benefits, you could do it 4 or 5 times a week, maybe just 4 times a week. And you obviously start with that lower dose. As you become more advanced, you can raise your dosage up. But you have to do that at your consent. And then, this is your oyster. So if you get a Heichheimer reaction, a Herxheimer reaction, you start to notice something, maybe you did it too strong, then obviously you need to turn it back down to the 200 to 400 mil dosage or strength. There's also some schools of thought that the lower dosages help heal certain wounds, like internal wounds, and the higher dosages are more like antiviral, antibacterial, antiparasitical. So the higher you go in the dosage, the more anti-cancer, antiviral, antimicrobial, anti-cancer, or all that stuff it can be. And then the lower dosages are more of like general health and well-being. For like maybe if you've got some internal bleeding, or hopefully you wouldn't have internal bleeding, but if you have certain wounds on your body, on your skin. Because again, the ozone gas reacts within 30 seconds. It goes straight into the bloodstream. All right, guys, if we've got any questions or comments, you can email us or list them below, and we'll get them answered for you. Thanks again for watching this video. I'm super excited to be able to offer this training to you guys. No one's ever trained me specifically like this. I've adopted training from probably 5 to 6 different ozone doctors, and then my own experience. And I hope that this long-winded version of how to do rectal insufflation crosses all the T's and dots all the I's, because there's a lot of variables in your dosage, especially as time goes on and as you start to use ozone. And a lot of times people want to feel like they call it feeling lit or feeling yoked. You'll hear me talk about it. You'll hear other people in the ozone community talk about it. But don't let that be the determining factor in whether or not the ozone is working for you. And you can only go to those higher dosages when you're ready. And if your body's loaded with harmful metals like iron, and maybe you've got underlying conditions, you just want to start slow. Well, as your body gets more optimized and you get healthier, you'll know when it's ready to do higher dosages. And that's going to be at your consent, and obviously if you're working with an ozone practitioner, they can help you with that as well. All right, guys, thanks again for watching this video. If you got any questions or comments, please leave them below.